Welcome back, M.A.G.O.H family and friends. My name is Kenneth Ball Sr., and I will be continuing with part two of my standing for my marriage testimony. But first, I want to preference this testimony again by saying I am in no way trying to defame my wife's character or to shame her in any way, because she is a beautiful person with a beautiful heart, and that's why I have chosen to pray and continue to wait for God to restore us. So, with that being said, I left off talking about when I confronted my wife about the cause between her and the so called minister, and she assured me it was nothing and told me a few things he said to her that I'd rather not say, and that she was not talking to him anymore. So I looked through her phone and I didn't see any communication between them, so I took her word for it. But I had her to start working with me to make sure. Some time had passed and everything was going good. She was still living with our daughter during this time. Don't remember how long after, but some time passed and my mother died and my daughter moved out. So my wife moved in with me and we were joined back together under one roof, and I was so happy. Now I want to add this because I really felt this was another attack on our marriage. Like I said earlier, we worked together on my route, which started at 3 a.m. in the morning, and I normally would pray before we got on the road. And some mornings I would ask my wife to pray, and her prayers would just sound like mine. But I never said nothing because any prayer is a good prayer in my book. But this one particular night, I asked her to pray, and I mean, she prayed. I had to look at her and say, man, that was a good prayer. Now, mind you, she would be asleep while I'm driving my portion of the route. And while driving, I would listen to sermons and gospel music. So it was getting into her spirit, I believe. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying she didn't have no relationship with God at all or no spirituality, but she just wasn't into it like I was. So I believe Satan said, I better do something quick before I lose her. Now, I'm not saying she was serving Satan or nothing. I'm just saying that I believe she was getting closer to God, and Satan didn't want that to happen. So he set forth another attack on our marriage, and this time the attack would later work. So a little while after my mother passed, we had a bad accident, and I hit the guardrail on my wife's side of the car while she was sleeping, and the impact woke her up to so much pain, which was later found to be a broken collarbone and a few broken ribs. She was secretly angry with me and felt as though I fell asleep behind the wheel, and maybe I did, but I thought I saw something black laying in the road like an animal, so I swerved. But it is possible I fell asleep at the wheel and dreamed that I saw something in the road. Either way, I still blame myself to this day for causing such pain to my wife. I tell you, this is so hard for me to relive right now, knowing I caused this to happen to her. So the state police came to the scene first, and shortly after the ambulance arrived, and they tried to take me to the hospital first, since I was already out of the car while the other ambulance was en route. But I told them no, to get my wife to the hospital, and I'll wait for the other ambulance. I remember being in so much pain myself, but her well being was all that was on my mind. So we got to the hospital at different times, and while they were examining me, all I remember is keep asking about my wife. And they said, let us take care of you first, and we will look for your wife and tell you how she is doing. Well, for my injuries, I found out that I had upper neck and lower back sprains. But what I thought was so sweet of my wife was, regardless of all the pain she was enduring, they told me, your wife wants us to bring you to her. And they rolled me in there with her. And man, just thinking about when I saw her laying there with dry blood on her face. It took everything out of me not to break down and cry right there on the spot, but I held it together because I felt I needed to be strong for her. So my niece and my daughter came to get me because my wife had to stay in the hospital due to her injuries for about a week, I think. And later, after she left me, I learned she was upset with me for not staying with her in the hospital. But little did she know I was in so much pain that they heavily sedated me and I was out of it. But I know if she would have just said she wanted me to stay, I would have stayed. And here, see the importance of communication because I didn't think of it myself due to the fact I was drowsy from being heavily medicated. So fast forward, she is out of the hospital and is back at home with me. Now some months have passed and after several follow-up appointments, even though she had not fully recovered from all her injuries, her doctor cleared her to drive. Now by this time, I was released by my therapist and was able to return back to work. So my daughter had just recently had a baby, and she asked her mother could she watch the baby while she went back to work. And I said no because we're going back to work. And my wife looked at me and said that she couldn't work right now. And I said, I know, I just need you to help me drive. And I believe that is what started her and my daughter's exit strategy. Because in hindsight, she was probably scared to ride with me again because she was convinced I fell asleep at the wheel. So now it's closer to bike week, and during this time, I still wasn't working, only getting workman's comp. So you already know I wasn't getting a lot of money. So I went without some things to save up my weekly checks in order to pay for her room and for her to have some spending money. I remember just days before the trip, I just so happened to pick up her tablet, thinking it was mine because our tablets were identical. So for some reason, I looked through her emails, and what did I see? Her and the so-called minister were still in communication, but now through email. But by the time I caught it, they had shortly stopped communicating. So I told her she was not going to bike week because now I am having trust issues because I thought their communication with each other was over. So the next day my sister talked to me and said my wife had been through a lot over the last couple of months and the trip would do her some good and when she gets back y'all could work it out. So it kind of made sense to me, and I told my wife if she promised that I didn't have to worry about that again, I would trust her and I would still send her on her trip. So she assured me that it would not happen again, and I said okay because we cannot have a marriage without trust. You see, before this, I never had any trust issues with her. I trusted her so much. That's why I could send her on vacation with her girlfriend to bike week, knowing there would be plenty of men there. But like I said, I felt she was loyal to her marriage because she never gave me no indications while we were married before this situation. Now, truth be told, yes, we cheated on each other numerous of times in the past, but that was while we were dating, getting even with each other after being caught cheating. You know, the childish relationship game some people played. But now we were married and we both took marriage seriously, so we said. So I think a day before she left, she told me, thank you for being a good husband and taking good care of me. And I said to her, you don't have to thank me. That is my job. But in the back of my head, I was wondering, was she dying or something? But I didn't give it a second thought. I just thought she was just letting me know how grateful she was, not knowing when she left for her trip, she was planning to leave me. I thought things were going good, but once the devil plants a seed, it often grows. I think I'm going to stop right here. So please stay tuned for part 3 of my standing for my marriage testimony. And as always, if you haven't joined the M.A.G.O.H family yet, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing so you and others can have a marriage after God's own heart. Be blessed, and remember, God loves you, and so do I.